Australia completely broke my brain. It completely changed the way I think, how I want to live my life, and my expectations. I view life completely differently. I think about travel completely differently, and I want to live differently than what I knew and thought before I moved to Australia. Let me explain. When I first moved abroad, I really had no expectations of what was going to happen or how much it will change my life. I hadn't seen the world that much. I didn't really know what was out there. I just knew the life around me, the life I had grown up with, and what was normal to me, and what people around me were doing. And I feel like I was just a kid when I first left to live in Australia, especially during those first year when everything was new. Living in another country, having to figure things out on my own, first job abroad, being away from my family, and trying to make new friends abroad. Basically, learning how to live your life again, but just in a foreign country, a country you've never been to and you've only seen online. And there was just so much learning happening all at once. I think when you're young, you don't really understand how much these experiences are going to change you. You just really don't expect it. You think you're just going there to, I don't know, save money, to travel, and so much more. But living abroad, moving abroad, is so much more than just that. Because you're also figuring out what kind of life you actually want, what makes you happy, what you care about, and what you don't care about anymore. And after living in Australia for 7 years and then leaving the place I loved, I came back as a very different person. I have a very different perspective on life now, different dreams, different expectations, and sometimes I honestly don't even know how to cope with all that. Once you've experienced a completely different way of living, you can't really go back to being the person you were before. In so many ways, it definitely would have been easier to just live the normal life and never leave home because it really changes everything. The hardest part is that I fell in love with Australia. I didn't at first because I think adjusting somewhere else is definitely hard and it can take quite some time, but it became such a big part of my life. It's where I grew up in a way. It's where I became an adult in a way. It's where I experienced so many things and made so many memories. I saw some of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. I met people from all around the world. I heard so many great stories and adventures. I had so many experiences that I never would have had if I had stayed where I grew up. And over the 7 years, Australia just became home. And that's why leaving was so difficult. It does become your home, your second home. Because I wasn't just leaving a place where I just lived, I was leaving a huge part of my life. And now my heart is kind of forever between two places. I miss Australia when I'm home, but when I was living in Australia, I missed my family. And that's the struggle my brain has to cope now. It's also the question that I get asked the most in the comments. Why did I leave then? If I love Australia so much, if I liked it there so much, if it's so amazing. And honestly, there isn't just one easy answer. There are a lot of things that go into a decision like that. But the biggest reason was my family. At some point, I just had to make a choice about what heartbreak I could live with. I could stay in Australia and miss my family, or I could move back home and miss Australia. And I chose my family. And I still think it was the right decision, but it doesn't make it any easier. Unfortunately, there is no win-win situation here. You can be 100% sure that leaving was the right decision and still 100% miss the life you left behind. I absolutely miss it and I think about Australia every day. If I'm having a especially hard day, I want to pack all my bags and move back, which basically happens every week. I always think of Australia as my second home, and It will always be that. And I think that's why I still talk about Australia so much and why I even started doing Australian videos. I don't want that part of my life to become something that happened a long time ago and that one day I won't even remember it that much. Some days it feels like, did it really happen? Like, did I actually got to live there? And the more I'm away, the more it does feel like a dream, like it didn't happen. But making these videos kind of helps me relive Australia and remember my life in Australia. But also, Australia broke my brain in a way that traveling is just not the same anymore. I honestly still some days I just can't believe that I got to live, in my eyes, one of the most beautiful countries in the world, visit some of the most world known places, and sit on the most white sandy beaches with crystal clear water. Me, from a small town, somehow ended up living in Australia for 7 years and making some of my dreams come true. It's still kind of crazy to me. I got to visit some really incredible places. I got to sit on white sandy beaches with no people on it. I got to see mountains, islands, incredible coastlines, wildlife that only exists in Australia. I feel like Australia has it all. And everywhere you go, there is another beautiful view waiting for you. Australia is a dream destination, and you don't see these kinds of places everywhere. Like, they are very hard to find. So Australia set the traveling standards very high for me. Things that would have been a huge holiday for me before and that they are now that I live back home became things that I could do on a weekend, that I could enjoy during the weekend. I could spend a weekend exploring national park with crazy beautiful views. I could go for a beautiful coastal walk. I could go to the most beautiful beaches. And that has definitely changed my expectations when I travel now. Now I compare. And I know I shouldn't, because I know every place is different and very unique, and there is a lot to enjoy and see everywhere. But I sometimes still do it, even though I don't do it on purpose. But if I go to beach, I'm like, oh, it's nice, but it doesn't excite me as much. Even going to the beach back at home, it's just not the same anymore. Even though I love my home and there are some beautiful places, but it's just very different. And I know that's probably not fair, because I spent years building up all these memories in Australia. And of course, I can't compare a new place to somewhere that means so much to me. But that's the problem. Australia has set my standards quite high, especially with beaches, especially with nature, especially with hiking trails and views. But living in Australia also made me want to travel more. And although I keep comparing everything to Australia, or I keep dreaming about places in Australia, it also made me want to travel so much more, because living there made me realize how much I love exploring. And some days I genuinely feel like I can't really settle anymore, that I don't want to live this normal life in a way. More than once, I've considered selling all my things, packing my bags, and just go travel for a year, or go travel full time, or I don't even know, but I've literally thought about it, and more lately. I genuinely feel like I don't need that many things anymore. I don't really care about material things, but instead I want experiences. I want to see places. I want to experience different cultures. I want to try new things. I want to try food in different countries. I want to create memories, and I want the adventure. And Australia played a big part in that, because living there felt very freeing to me. I remember having a day off and going for a hike, or driving to Palm Beach just because I wanted to see the view again. Palm Beach was one of my favorite places in Sydney. I would take a bus, just drive there, walk up towards the lighthouse, sit there, have a picnic, and just look at the view and be grateful for it. And that was it. It wasn't some big planned holiday. It wasn't like I had to take a week off for it. I didn't have to plan months in advance to do it. It was just something that I could do on a day off. A small adventure that didn't cost anything, just a bus ticket and just what I wanted to grab for lunch or picnic. And I love that. I love that you had everything in Australia. Obviously, everyday life still feels like everyday life. a routine, still had to work, still had boring days, still had problems like everywhere. But there were so many things around me that I could actually do when I had the free time. I just miss having that feeling that there is always something to do and go and see. A small adventure on your day off. Living somewhere beautiful doesn't magically make everyday life perfect. But I think Australia just gave me so much and so many opportunities to enjoy my life outside of those things. Small adventures, exploring, hiking, and being outdoors all the time. That is something I miss. It also ruined my idea of what life should look like. And I think this is probably the biggest thing Australia changed for me. Before moving abroad, I think I had a pretty normal idea of what life was supposed to look like in 5 years, in 10 years. Career, home, car, all the things you're kind of supposed to have. And there is nothing wrong with that. But Australia taught me that they aren't the only things that matter. Because what I remember most from those 7 years isn't the things I owned or how much money I saved or what I bought with that money. It's what I did. It's where I went. It's the people I met. It's the random Tuesday when we went somewhere beautiful. It's sitting at the beach. It's road trips. It's hikes. It's conversations. It's experiences. And that's when I started understanding that doing something you actually enjoy and love, even if it pays less, can be worth so much more than having the nice car or big house. Because what's the point of having everything if you don't really enjoy life? And at times I think that's why I struggle so much with the idea of like settling down, having this normal, like stable life in a way, because once you've experienced a life where freedom, experiences, and adventure becomes so important to you, it's hard to forget that and leave it like in the past. Australia made me feel like anything in life is possible and that life is too short not to go after your dreams, not to do the things you want, not to take the most of the time we have in life, because we never know how much we have it. Australia was the place where I became who I am now, and because of that, I'll probably compare the rest of my life to it, unfortunately. Because I feel like I grew up there. I learned how to be independent there. I experienced so much there. Obviously, I am going to compare things to it. Because it's not just a country for me, it's not just a travel destination for me, it's 7 years of my life, it's memories, it's people, it's places, and it's the version of me that only existed there. Before we moved back home, we made sure that some of our family members got to visit us. We wanted them to see that. We wanted to see them Australia. And even our family said when they visited for the first time that they have never felt that warmth and kindness nowhere else. That it's definitely such a different vibe. And now they truly understood what we always meant when we said how it feels different and why we love it so much. It is different. Maybe it's just me, and maybe it's just what Australia means to me. But Australia set my standards quite high in all the possible ways. I've been home for 2 years now, and I still feel like I will never truly feel at home anymore because how much I love Australia and because how much it changed me. There is also so much kindness in the comments by a lot of you that writing to me to come back and visit anytime and that I'm very welcomed. And I thank you so much for it. I do hope to make that happen, that I can visit again and hopefully see places I haven't yet, and visit all the places I loved when I lived there. But until then, I'll keep my Australian dream and life alive with these videos, because some days it does feel like, was I even there? Did that actually happen? Did I actually got to experience life there? I miss it, I love it, and it completely changed my life, the way I think and everything else. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.